Jesus' name. My throat is still a little ouchy this evening, but I did get about a 2-hour nap this afternoon, and that felt exceedingly good. This evening, I want to tell you a story. First, I wanted to especially thank you for the generous gift. We have enjoyed being here and getting to know your congregation. This was not a place that I felt that I knew or knew these people, but we have enjoyed being here. Enjoy the graciousness that you didn't complain when we stayed down at our folks. So we're a little ways away, but we did get into some of your homes, and we appreciate that opportunity. Those who did have us over for meals took very good care of us. We appreciate that hospitality. If they eat like that all the time, I'm sure they are becoming solid members of your church. This evening, I want to tell you a story. And after the story, I have some questions for you. In the sense, they are invitation questions. We're not going to have a come forward invitation. Instead, we're going to have a take home invitation. I have something for you to take home and then to think about in the next week. Of course, I'm not going to check back with you, so I won't know if you did or you did not. But I think it might do you some good if you did. This story is something that I experienced a number of years ago. I guess I could have looked back and seen exactly when it was, but I would say it was 12 to 15 years ago. We had become friends with a family. This family had some hardship. The wife had cancer. She had brain cancer and had suffered with that and with the treatments of that, had been better for a while, and then it returned. And when it returned, as they say, sometimes it returns with a vengeance. She was at the end of that cancer journey. I'm not going to use their real names. I'm going to try not to use their real names. I'll call them Eli and Anna. Anna was at the end of her journey. That was clear. Sometimes it's clear to others a long time before it's clear to the person. Like it's hard to accept the fact that you are not going to get better. You are not going to live. You have likely observed this in people that you know, that long after everyone else knows they're going to die, they still have this idea about going somewhere for this treatment or using this natural remedy. I am not against natural remedies. I think there's a lot of value in creation and in nutrition. But when people have not accepted the fact that they're going to die, they try lots of things that are pretty far out there. She was past that. Anna knew that she was going to die. This particular time that I went to see them, she was in Johns Hopkins Hospital, and I don't know the proper name for the floor of the hospital in which she was staying, but it was sort of like a cancer intensive care ward. She knew she was going to die. There were no illusions about recovery. Additional surgeries, rounds of chemotherapy were useless. They would do nothing but prolong her suffering. Her body was emaciated, as people often are at the very end of a long and difficult cancer journey. As she lay in the bed that day, she was basically a skeleton covered with with skin and very little bit of flesh. A very sick woman. She was at the very end stage of cancer, but her mind was remarkably clear, and that was something to be thankful for, considering everything else. Anna and her husband Eli and I, we visited for a while in her room. They were from a different church group, and I'm not casting aspersions on the church group that they were from, but their church, it was difficult spiritually at their church. They were spiritually minded people, and their church was not necessarily full of spiritually minded people, and particularly in the ministry at that time. We visited for a while, and then Eli excused himself. He said he wanted to go out to the waiting room and sit. There was a bunch of the family out there. He did go out and sit out there. I learned later that a serious argument broke out there in the waiting room, sort of an embarrassing scene. But I wasn't out there. I stayed in the room with Anna, and we were visiting. I talked with her about dying, and I asked her if she was ready to meet the Lord. When you are visiting with a person who you are fairly certain they are going to die, you do have a Christian responsibility to say something. Even if you are believing that they are ready to die, don't put yourself in the position of, well, I don't want to say anything, I'm not going to ask any questions, because later you might regret it. Why didn't I just ask to be sure? Why didn't I say something? That's kind of something you can do. You do it for them, but in a sense, you're also doing it for yourself. That when you had the opportunity, you did make sure that you asked if they were ready to die. I asked Anna if she was ready to die and if she was ready to meet the Lord. I remember that setting very clearly in my mind. Her room was quiet, other than what you would call hospital noises, like faint beeping noises of machines. And you could tell that there were other people in this large building. You could kind of hear shuffling around or maybe muted voices, but her room was quiet. Her room was dimly lit, and she had wanted me to hold her hand. So I was holding her hand as we talked. And I was surprised in doing that how firmly she gripped my hand. I could not have pulled my hand away if I had wanted to. It crossed my mind that I do know what people refer to when they talk about a death grip. Here this is, this emaciated lady at death's door, and she has a stronger grip than most men. Her voice was low, soft, and clear. Her testimony was crystal clear. She ended with, "God be merciful to me, a sinner." She did not have all the fancy words that a Baptist or maybe a Presbyterian or Episcopalian could conjure up at such times, but in her simple way of knowing how to express herself, she had a clear Christian testimony. It was quiet for just a few moments after she said, "God be merciful to me, a sinner." And then she started to get agitated. She started being visibly restless. You could see it on her face that she was, I would even use the word upset. And I wondered if maybe her pain medication had started to wear off, but it wasn't her pain. She had 3 statements to make, 3 things she wanted to say, and then a question that she asked. I believe, I'm convinced that she had been thinking about this for quite a while. Like she had worked over these words in her mind and she had them ready, and that she intentionally waited until Eli left the room to say what she had to say. She was looking for her opportunity. She had her opportunity, and she took her opportunity. She made 3 statements, kind of summoning up her strength. She very clearly said, "I am not afraid to die." That's a remarkable statement. I am not afraid to die. The second statement concerned her family. They had daughters, little girls. They were not grown-up girls, they were little girls. She said, I am not afraid for the girls. And then after a pause, she said, but I am afraid for Eli. The question that followed that was, will you watch Eli? Will you watch him? And will you take care of him? Now, when a dying woman asks you to do something and she's holding on to your hand, you do exactly what she asked you to do. And it would be something that you would do. I said, yes, I will look after him. And at that point, she became more agitated yet, and she raised herself up on her elbows and kind of fiercely said, no, you must promise. So I promised. I will look after Eli and I will watch him. It was at that point that I made a mistake. It was a mistake that I long regretted. She was done. When I said I promised, it was kind of like you flipped a switch, and she kind of fell back on the bed, and she was done. She didn't talk anymore. She didn't fall asleep, but she didn't talk. She didn't let go of my hand, but she had said everything that she intended to say, that she had planned to say. What was the mistake that I made? She said she was not afraid to die. She said she was not afraid for the girls. But she said, I am afraid for Eli. Will you watch him and take care of him? I didn't ask her why she was afraid for Eli. I should have asked her why she was afraid. I did thereafter see her one more time. It was not the last time I ended up seeing her, but the last time I was there, she was beyond talking. You don't know if people in that condition can hear what you say, but she was not able to communicate. I never asked why she was afraid for her husband, Eli. I wished I had. I did attempt to live up to the promise that I made. I spent a lot of time with her husband. He would call and I would take his phone call. I would call him. I would go out of my way when I went to that place, and I would go spend time at their house. He and the girls would come to our house. I invested a lot of time in him. And different times I wondered if I knew what it was that she was afraid of. Like maybe it's this. But I was wrong. I never guessed what the problem was. His life ended in a way that I would say is very sad, very unfortunate from a spiritual perspective. She knew something about her husband that I didn't know. And I don't know if she knew it or if she suspected it or if she had an inkling, but she was afraid for him. And she wanted somebody to watch him and to look after him. I never saw it coming, the thing that came in his life. Like I didn't see it. I'm good friends with some of his other good friends, those who were his good friends. They didn't see it coming. But somehow that woman, the wife that he married, somehow she knew something, or she suspected something. She was afraid of something. 3 questions for you, and it's a Like I said, this is a take-home invitation. I'm not going to ask you to respond here, and I'm not going to ask you to come forward, but I've got some questions for you, and maybe if you two fellas right here can help me out. Pass these out, one on each side. Maybe anybody youth-aged or on up, you can give them a copy. I went ahead and wrote the questions out for you, and we're going to talk through them. I do not want you to answer the questions here. So don't write anything down on your paper. Don't fill in anything. I would rather that you took the paper home, fold it up, stick it in your Bible, and then as you're having your devotions this week, pull it out, if you will. It's kind of like your take-home homework assignment. And try to honestly answer these questions. These are not simple questions. I actually think they're very complicated questions. Like they're not a question to answer off the top of your head. It's a question to ask yourself in the morning and think about it all day long, and then maybe that night you have an answer to write down. The first question, Anna told me that she was not afraid to die. So my question for you is, are you afraid to die? Would you be afraid to die? Like if this, we don't get this privilege in life, but if you knew that you were going to die tonight or tomorrow, would you be afraid of that? Yes or no? Like Anna, would you be able to say, I am not afraid to die? Or would you not be able to say that? If the answer is yes, I would be afraid to die. Then there's a follow-up question. Why would you be afraid? If you would be afraid to die, why would you be afraid? If the answer is no, I'm not afraid to die, why is your answer no? Why are you not afraid to die? The second question. She was not afraid for her girls. She thought the girls would be okay. But she was afraid for her husband Eli. Whatever it was that she saw, she was afraid for him. If someone who cared about you would be afraid for you if you died, why do you think they would be afraid? What might they guess or know about you? You have a lot of acquaintances in life. These are people that you rub shoulders with sort of casually. You have people even that you would call your friends. That's what you call them, but you actually don't share with them at any deep level. There's probably only a handful of people in your life to whom you are very close. You know them, and they know you. I'm talking about those people. If one of those people, the ones that actually know you better than anyone else, if they would be afraid for you, if you would die, what would they be afraid of? What is there in you that if they think about you and death, they're not sure about? If there was something to be afraid of, this would be what I would be afraid of for her or for him. What might they guess or know about you? That's a pretty hard question to answer, isn't it? you would have to think pretty honestly about yourself, and we are not good at thinking honestly about ourselves. The third question: is there someone for whom you would be afraid if they died? Whether it's someone here, someone in your family, someone you know, that if you woke up tomorrow morning and your phone buzzed and there was a message and you looked at it and it was a death message, did you hear that this person died? And you would be afraid for them. It would kind of go through you and kind of chill you. Oh no, they died. Is there someone for whom you would be afraid if they died? A couple of questions below that. If so, who are they? If there is someone that you would be afraid for if they died, I would like you to write their name down. Not tonight, but you write their name down. Who is it that it would just chill your heart if they died? The second question, to which you can write out your own answer: why would you be afraid for them? Like, why wouldn't you be happy for them, glad for them? Maybe you'll miss them, but they're in a better place. No, this is the person that you're afraid for. Why would you be afraid for them? Go ahead and write it out. The best that you have words to describe maybe that ambiguous thing that you feel, that you just wouldn't feel safe for them. The third question: that thing, that person that you're afraid for, and that thing that you're afraid of for them, what have you done about it? That's a historical question. Okay, that's who they are. This is who the person is. This is what I would be afraid of for them, the best I'm able to describe it. What have you done about it? Well, I did this. I went and talked to them. I prayed for them. What did you do? Write down what you did. The last question: what are you going to do about it? Forget what you did last year when you said a little bit of something to them about it. If you are afraid for them if they would die, and you have an idea what it is you would be afraid for, what in the world are you going to do about it? It says in the Bible, in Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 27, it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. It is appointed unto men once to die. That means God has it scheduled for people to die one time. But you know what? The Bible talks about two deaths. There is the physical death, and then there is spiritual death. It's only appointed unto men once to die. God has only made an appointment, barring his return, and you're alive at the time of his return. He's only made one death appointment for you and for them. But those who do not accept Christ, who turn from him, they get a second appointment with death, and they experience the second death at the same time. It is appointed unto men once to die, but after this, the judgment. You can do what you want with these questions. You don't, of course, have to answer them, but my request is that you would do it Monday. Do one Monday, one Tuesday, one Wednesday. Don't do them all at once. Would you be afraid to die? Yes or no? If yes, why would you be afraid? If no, why would you not be afraid? If someone who cared about you would be afraid for you if you died, why do you think they would be afraid for you? What might they see or know about you that would give them pause? Is there someone for whom you would be afraid if they died? If so, who are they? What would you be afraid for them about? What have you done about it? And then probably the most important question in that section, what are you going to do about it? If you wake up tomorrow and they're not dead yet, what are you going to do about it? John Wesley said this, and I think this is worth considering. Give me 100 men who fear nothing but sin and desire nothing but God, and I don't care whether they be clergymen or laymen, they alone will shake the gates of hell and help bring in the kingdom of heaven on earth. There's more than 100 people that go to this church, men and ladies. Give me 100 men and ladies at Living Word who fear nothing but sin and desire nothing but God, and I don't care whether they be the preachers or the people sitting in the pews, they alone will shake the gates of hell and help bring in the kingdom of earth, the kingdom of heaven on earth. Lord bless you as you seek to serve him. Call for a song, and then one of the ministers can close.